feeling. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or even a renter, you understand that we are currently having a housing crisis here in Ontario and in the GTA. There's big news coming out of Ontario. Bonnie Crombie, she's obviously a leading candidate for Premier, has unveiled her aggressive new housing plan that could completely change the real estate market here in the GTA. What does this actually mean for you as a buyer or as a seller? Well, I'm going to break that down in today's video. We've got an article here from stories.com that we are going to break down here for you. What kind of impacts is it going to have if you're buying your first home, upgrading, or maybe thinking of selling? As always, if you have any questions as you're watching this video, you can text me at the number here on screen. This housing plan that Bonnie Crombie has announced is extremely interesting because she's definitely targeting Doug Ford here. And what she is focusing on is reducing the costs for the buyers. And guess what? That's great. If you're a home buyer, let's talk about it here. Bonnie Crombie's housing plan is focusing on one thing: tackling our housing crisis. And it is absolutely a housing crisis. Let's be honest, the crisis is something that everybody is feeling. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or even a renter, you understand that we are currently having a housing crisis here in Ontario and in the GTA. So here's some key highlights in the article here. I'll link the article in the description box down below. I'm not going to bore you guys with the whole article and me reading through it, but they want to build 1.5 million new homes by 2031. They have not hit their targets over the past couple of years. Obviously, Trudeau's announced these crazy targets. They're not coming anywhere close to them, but Crombie is committing to building 1.5 million new homes across Ontario over the next 8 years. That's a pretty massive target, and the goal of making housing more accessible is really the basis of this. So they want to make 1.5 million new homes, but they also want them to be more affordable and more accessible to you as buyers. So let's see what that actually means. They want to fast track the construction, which includes approvals, getting rid of the red tape, and maybe pushing these municipalities to go quicker when it comes to the approval process, because right now it can take months, potentially years, to actually get an approval on a project. If we can cut that red tape and get approvals quicker, they can build houses faster. Ultimately, the red tape is what's slowing us down, and we had a lot of immigration coming in, so more and more people, more and more resistance, and the houses are barely being built. The next thing that they're talking about in this article from Bonnie Crombie here is that there's going to be more tax incentives for builders. Well, great. The builders are going to see something out of this as well. Obviously, they don't want to see their homes selling for less, but let's see what they're going to get out of it here. So developers who actually commit to building more affordable housing projects are going to receive some tax incentives to encourage faster development and allow these to be more first-time buyer friendly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, great. They're going to want to make these builders build things that are more affordable, but if they remove the red tape, the builders can get through more projects much quicker. They might be able to do 2 to 3 projects in the time frame where they're doing 1 to 1.5 right now. So this could potentially be something worth keeping an eye on here. And the next focus is they're going to focus on more affordable and the missing middle is what they're calling it here, because we actually have, a big gap between buying a condo and owning another type of property. You can get into the condo market, but that gap is just so massive if you're going to go from a condo to a detached or to a semi-detached home. So Crombie's plan here is let's get on top of the missing middle. Let's think townhouses, duplexes, mid-rise apartments, and this is where they want to focus on the development. Because we're lacking these specific types of housing, we don't need a ton more detached. We don't need any more condos. Like, cut it out. Stop building the condos for now. We have a hard enough time depleting the inventory at hand, but let's build some more of this missing middle, maybe on the affordable side of things, so we can get people in there. One additional thing that I think is great for home buyers is this plan actually, as a first-time home buyer, it's going to benefit you. They want to get rid of the land transfer tax for first-time home buyers altogether. Right now, there is a credit, which is awesome. You get a credit on your land transfer tax, but being able to not pay land transfer tax means you can have a larger down payment, or you can maybe consider using that additional money you would have had for your land transfer tax set aside for something else, like a renovation or some furniture in your house. I think it's a great idea for them to actually have something like this to leave the door open for more savings for the first-time buyers. So ultimately, what does this actually mean for you here? Well, obviously there's a crisis. There's a housing crisis. Prices are up, inventory's down. This could maybe bring more supply to the market, which we absolutely need. You can look at my last market update video. It's in one of these top two corners. I'll never remember which way I'm looking here, but you can click the market update video here. Our inventory levels are actually high, mostly on the condo side of things. Detached homes are selling well, townhouses, semis, they're all moving. It's condos where we have a ton of inventory, and it's kind of bad inventory, if I'm being honest. It's crappy condo layouts that have, small areas to put a bed. It doesn't make a lot of sense for more than one person. So we need more inventory that's quality, not just inventory for the sake of inventory, which is important. So the big question is, will the prices actually go down for first-time buyers, or is it going to take like years for this to happen, for us to see some real change? Nothing's ever going to happen overnight. So when Bonnie Crombie is able to take office, potentially, if she's able to win the PM seat here, well, how many years before the red tape is actually cut, and then the builders can actually start building things, and then we can get people in these houses and builders can repeat the process, rinse and repeat. It's probably going to be 3 to 5 years before we see any changes in the market, in the pricing. So obviously a lot of that's just going to fall onto our current real estate market, the interest rates, what people are making, if their income is going up or if it's staying stagnant. Then the housing prices right now make it really difficult for a lot of people to get into anything other than a condo as their first home. So something to keep an eye on. None of this is ever going to happen with the snap of your fingers, and it's politics. So we all say the best things. What's actually going to happen is a completely different story. So if you're a buyer, how can you actually benefit from this whole situation? I think if you're looking to buy your first home, or maybe move up, maybe go from your condo to your next property, this could work potentially, if it all happens as written, in your favor. More inventory means less competition. Great. Right now, there's still some bidding wars in Toronto on detached homes and semi-detached homes. Once you leave Toronto and you're in the GTA, so you're Brampton, you're Mississauga, you're Milton, you're Scarborough, you're not going to have as much competition unless you're in one of these categories where it's pretty light on inventory. You're going to be able to take a little bit of time, make a decision on a home, but more inventory generally just means less competition, which is good for you as the home buyer. Affordable housing incentives is another thing. If the developers can focus more on building homes that are in this affordability range, we'll figure out what that actually looks like if she is able to take the seat here for condos, for townhouses, smaller detached homes in the GTA. Maybe the builders are able to offer much better prices on these projects. Maybe they don't use the same quality material. Maybe they don't have a basement. Maybe they're just a walk-in and they're a 3 or 4 level townhouse potentially. There's different ways that the builders can go about it to save some costs here as well, but we'll have to see what that looks like for you. Now, as a buyer, the last way this could benefit you is if they are able to keep building in the outskirts, so in your suburbs, your Bramptons, your Oshawas, your Whitbys, things like that, they are able to build more housing that fits the categories: townhouse, detached, semi-detached, no more condos. If they're able to build these at a more affordable price, because people are being pushed out of Toronto and Toronto's not able to build much more, so maybe the prices in the outskirts can actually come down a little bit. But my reality check for you at the end of the day here is we got to keep it real. This is a long-term play. They want to build 1.5 million homes, and that's a massive goal. This is a really big goal. It's out of reach potentially, but they're going to throw the number out there. Even if there's tax incentives, it's going to take so much time to plan all of this out. So if you're thinking maybe, I want to buy in 2025, I want to buy in 2026, I don't think this is going to be a thing for you. I think there's going to be a lot more that comes down the pipeline before this project even gets started here. If you're a seller, there's a couple things that really you want to know and how this might impact you, because you're thinking, hey, you're going to make housing more affordable. What the heck is going to happen to the housing price on my end? I own a detached home and I've got all this equity built up. Are you trying to crash the market for my potential home? Well, unfortunately, if Crombie's plan actually comes through, it's going to create more competition in potentially your market, depending on where you live. So you need to think about this as a seller. When are you thinking of moving? What's your future look like in your current home? If this plan is going to happen, you need to understand that the more houses that are built in this affordability range that they're talking about here in the article, the more potential your home value could be dragged down if it's close to these areas. When we're looking at average household prices, and maybe comparable sales in the area, we're pulling locally what's happening around you. So if you have a detached home, we're checking your street, the streets around it, homes that have the same makeup to give you a value to put your house on the market. But if all of a sudden there's affordable housing being built around you that's similar to yours, has the same kind of specs, it's going to pull down your average price. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of doing something like this. If you're going to plan on selling your home, start preparing now, sell before this happens, if it ever happens, right? This is just something that is trying to be pushed if Bonnie gets elected. Now, the missing middle, as they're so calling it right now, it's a big focus. People want to make sure that everybody in every category is able to potentially own housing. So by fast tracking housing, duplexes, mid-rises, some of these apartments, maybe it opens up some more options for you. Families who want a little bit more space, you want to stay close to your work, your other family, maybe some amenities that are in the area. And if that sounds like you, it might be something that you want to keep your nose to the ground on. You might want to follow the story a little bit further, see if maybe Bonnie's somebody you want to vote for, see if you believe in the rest of what she is pushing for the province here. But you don't know how long this ultimately is going to take to make any changes. So you might have 2 young kids right now hoping to buy a house in the near future, but this near future might be 5 years plus if we're waiting on Bonnie's plan here. So there you have it. We broke down the article here for you. If you think this is a great idea, I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below. For buyers, it can be more potential options in the future, less competition over time. For sellers, it's about being more strategic. If you're thinking of moving in 10 years, maybe you want to push that forward, make your property stand out from the rest. And if this affordable housing isn't being built in area where you live, don't worry about it so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. One additional thing that I think is great for home buyers is this plan actually, as a first-time home buyer, it's going to benefit you. They want to get rid of the land transfer tax for first-time home buyers altogether. Right now, there is a credit, which is awesome. You get a credit on your land transfer tax, but being able to not pay land transfer tax means you can have a larger down payment, or you can actually put more, means you can have a larger down payment, or you can maybe consider using that additional money you would have had for your land transfer tax set aside for something else like a renovation or some furniture in your house. I think it's a great idea for them to actually have something like this to leave the door open for more savings for the first-time buyers.